Hello, fellow navigators, adventurers, and explorers. Right about now, we should be at our destination, so saddle up. We have arrived at the mystifying Crumbling Farum Azula, and today we are going to have a discourse about its architecture. But before that, we are going to have to talk about buildings. Let me ask all of us, how well do we even know buildings? We live in houses, well at least most of us do. And every one of these houses we know and we're familiar with are built and designed by human hands and human minds. We have built unbelievable things during our time on Earth, and the people who have created the masterworks have found an immortal place in the pantheon of humanity, and there they will be revered till our race defies extinction or loses all of our memory and history. Each of the timeless creations ever made, each unique, each didn't exist before it was built, and none of them can ever truly be replicated. At times, we even try to surpass nature itself in design by mastering symmetry and branding it to the grandest of our buildings. But our symmetry only exists for our limited visual pleasure, as nothing we have physically created can truly be symmetrical yet. All of these masterful creations, yes, even though admirable, even if they defy logic itself at the present date, at one time were within human measure and expectations. We build the pyramids, even though now it seems it defies all logic. Such is the effect of time upon wonders. Often we delve either in far-fetched fantasies. At the same time, we also often make unimaginable into realities. We truly are something, but not often we get to see certain things in this time and age, especially things which defy all human understanding. Things that you look upon and have no idea why it was designed. Things that force you to ask, for what purpose was this particular space conceived? To make it easier for myself, I imagine someone from the Stone Age, and all they have seen are caves, and all of a sudden, something throws them into the future. They might understand modern houses, even if they won't understand everything, like security system, or doorbells, or microwaves, but they will understand walls, and doors, and even windows, even if they will probably try to use the windows like doors. The point in what I mean is, they will eventually understand its basic purpose. But what if they see something like an airport or a nuclear power plant? I trust it will take quite a while for them to understand its purpose. Try to put oneself on their shoes. You will understand the situation if you have tried to teach someone really old how to use a smartphone. At least you'll understand the gist of it. It takes a while just to teach them how to scroll down without them clicking on something every time they try to scroll. Now, let's get back to the topic, and I will be frank. The first time I got to Crumbling Farum Azula, it left me mesmerized. The whole place looked special. And I kind of knew why it looked that great. It was obviously due to its appearance. The whole beginning cutscene when you wake up there is quite memorable. We are a species that appreciate how things tend to look. We are visual creatures, and things that look visually beautiful stimulate us and even pleasure us. The design of the place, its setting, and what it makes you feel, it's quite an experience. Not exactly pleasure, but you get what I mean. I remember the same feeling from a long time ago when I was watching Jetsons and Cartoon Network. First time I saw those sky towers was special to me. It defied all my expectations. I was forced to wonder things I would never have if I didn't see those. The show will eventually show you everything as you watch, but something about it still makes me remember it. It's like I imprinted upon the moment or those structures. Maybe it's because I'm an architect, I naturally got attracted to Azula's crumbling shapes. Or maybe it's because the whole thing is floating up in the sky. We do daydream about designing those, or maybe even living in those. Whatever it is, it's sure special, and I'll tell you exactly why. When you traverse across it, there are some places that make you feel like it defies all purpose, as we tend to think like humans do. So we end up thinking, why even build something like this? What would it even serve? For what purpose? You know, there's those tombs and rocks that contain the skeleton of giant beasts, and from other sources I heard it's a burial style similar to Varna burial used in necropolis of Bulgaria way back in the day. Makes complete sense. But then what about those other ones? Ones that don't look like they are laid in rest. Those bones that look like they were screaming right before they died. There are these pillars that contain skeletons, and the way they are put up makes me feel like this was not burial. This was a showcase of some kind, and I'm barely a historian. But it's just like what we humans do, or did. The heads of giant beasts we hunted, even till quite recently, we proudly put them on a wall as a display, even stuffed the whole animal to its exact likeness, or even showing off a giant ancient fossils we discovered. Again, I'm thinking like a human, which is exactly what I'm trying not to do, but naturally end up doing. So, the particular pillars I'm talking about look as if the rocks were melted over the skeleton and then they were carved out again, just like how we do with the fossils, but the nature does the covering part. And I imagine, why would someone put rocks over bones of giant beasts and then carve them out and use them as a decorative pillar? How would someone even do that? You might have started figuring where I'm going right now. These skeletons embedded in rocks look like trophies, and this looks like a gallery of some sort, but not of humans. Guess whose? The inhabitants of the dragons. Dragons in Elden Ring were creatures of war, and they hunted, they were organized, they were new magic. These were intelligent beings, capable of culture, religion, and civilization. But above all, looking at their designs and their architecture, I see their creativity and their cruelty. Throughout my career, I have seen and studied what we humans have built, and that's all we ever study. But there are other builders in Earth. Spiders, a lot of birds, ants, termites, rabbits, each have their own design, right? And we will come back to birds, as like dragons, they fly. If Farum Azula was inhabited by dragons, then they most probably had their own draconic style of architecture to satisfy the needs of their draconiform lifestyle. If Elden Ring and Souls game are as thoughtfully created as we give them credit for, then that would be the only case. This draconic architecture they used, those pillars made up of rocks containing the bones, only could have been done by using relentless dragon fire that could melt rocks and encase the bones. In my opinion, I think that's what dragon would do naturally, especially in a place of their residence. Later on, maybe the beastmen of Farum Azula copied how dragon buried their dead by encasing their dead on rock-like substance and got their own burial style, entombing their dead with their jewelries within a solid rock, just like their dragon overlords. Now something off topic again. It does make me wonder, what would we think and understand as intelligent beings ourselves if we see an otherworldly structure? We have so many theories about structures of nature, the things we have yet to understand the purpose of, and things we have understood. Generations of our scientists had to jump through burning hoops to figure some of them out. How would we even begin to comprehend something above our 3 dimensions? As of now, it is still unimaginable. Now let's go back. When we lie down to sleep in the broken ruins and wake up as the temporal flow reverses, taking us back in time when Farum Azula wasn't crumbling yet, in front of its ruler, Lasudi's axe, the dragon who had 5 heads once and now only has 2. As an enthusiast of all sorts of vivid forms of imagination, that particular portion of Elden Ring was among the most memorable for me, although the boss fight against Placidus' axe was quite difficult even with my mimic tear, as it always died once the dragon commenced its aerial assaults. Still, now I have looked at the arena and many areas of Farum Azula, and some confuse me so much so that I do not even know if the floor is actually a floor. Was it the ceiling I was fighting on? Because if it was, it would actually make more sense. Because I'm a human and we have smooth floors. Maybe uneven floors with displays and carvings made perfect sense to dragons, who knows? Anything human-like would have difficult time walking on those. Talk about unfriendly architecture. I would never let my kids run in that floor. No sir. But the same design that is friendly for a short man can be quite uncomfortable for a tall man. Well, the short man it seems here are the dragons, so hopefully that makes sense. Architecture for dragons. It took a while, but it finally made some sense. Imagine an eagle's nest. It doesn't really need a roof, does it? And the nest doesn't really need floors like we humans do. You just need a place to roost. There'll be some leftover bones of dead animal in the nest. You don't really need to walk around. You know why? Because for something that can fly, the floor is the sky. If you look at it, the arena that we fight Placidus' axe in, it sort of looks like a ball, doesn't it? That does make it look like a bit of nest shape. If a basic structure for humans is 4 walls, a roof, and a door you can close, then for the king of the skies, it would be a nest up high. I imagine the structure we meet Placidus' axe in is some sort of gathering hall for dragons. Instead of house, maybe it's the Colosseum for dragon gladiators and they would hold glorious dragon duels. Placidus' axe was a leader, the Elden Lord during the Age of Dragons, so maybe the whole thing was just his private property. I do sometimes want to know what the designer actually thought as they designed each structure. But then again, I would rather not. If I knew, then I couldn't feed all my wild imaginations. It's just like reading a book and creating the character's likeness in your head, and then once you watch a movie or a TV version with real people in it, and the unique characters you created in your head all get destroyed. Farum Azula, even though might have had some sort of purpose in the past, the condition we find it in the present, I feel like it's one of those places that can let each of us let our imagination run wild. And maybe that is how it was designed, by releasing all the chains that bind our imagination. And that for me is what the architecture of the Crumbling Farum Azula represents. Imagination unbound. And that's what we should take away from it as we leave. So with that, today's field trip is over. Let's all climb aboard till we get to the next stop. Come on now, we don't want to leave anyone behind, do we?